What if the greatest creative force in your life has not been your effort, your planning, your ambition, or even the prayers you have spoken in moments of desperation? What if the greatest creative force in your life has been the words you repeat without thinking? The small sighs, the worried sentences, the quiet complaints, the phrases you say so often that you no longer hear them. What if every careless word has been a seed? What if every sentence spoken with fear has been a pattern handed to the unseen forces of your life? And what if the universe, in its perfect obedience to spiritual law, has never been ignoring you at all? Perhaps it has been listening too well. Perhaps it has been receiving every word, every declaration, every fearful assumption, and saying yes. Yes to the lack you named. Yes to the exhaustion you claimed. Yes to the limitation you repeated. Yes to the story you thought you were only describing. Beloved, this is one of the most powerful truths you can ever awaken to. Your words are not weak things. They are not empty sounds floating away into nothing. They are living instructions. They are spiritual seeds. They are subtle commands sent into the great invisible field from which your visible world is formed. And by the end of this message, you will understand 3 sacred phrases that can redirect your entire life. These phrases are simple. They are not complicated. They are not hidden in a temple. They do not require years of study. They are words you already use every day. But when you use them consciously, they become keys. The first is, I am. The second is, I have. The third is, I choose. These 3 phrases are doorways. They are not ordinary words. They are spiritual instruments. They are the beginning of command, identity, evidence, and sovereignty. When used unconsciously, they can keep a soul bound to the same old story. But when used with faith, feeling, and divine intelligence, they can become the language of miracles. So listen gently. Listen not only with your mind, but with the quiet inner place that already knows the truth. There is a part of you that remembers the sacred use of speech. There is a part of you that knows you were never meant to speak against yourself. You were not given a voice to curse your own road. You were given a voice to bless it. You were not given words to repeat lack, fear, defeat, and hopelessness. You were given words to call forth divine order, right action, prosperity, peace, and the perfect way. Today, you are not learning a new power. You are remembering an ancient one. The power has been in your mouth all along. The law of the spoken word. There is a spiritual law that works whether you believe in it or not. It is the law of the spoken word. This law is direct. It is simple. It is impartial. It does not flatter, argue, punish, or negotiate. It receives the word, impresses it upon the subconscious mind, and allows life to arrange itself according to the pattern most consistently spoken and felt. This is why speech is sacred. Every word you speak is more than sound. It is a vibration clothed in meaning. It carries an image. It carries an assumption. It carries a feeling. And when a word is repeated again and again, it becomes accepted inwardly as truth. The subconscious mind is the faithful servant of the soul. It does not ask, "Is this good for you?" It does not ask, "Is this what you really desire?" It does not ask, "Are you saying this from fear or from faith?" It simply receives. If you say, "Nothing ever works out for me," the subconscious begins to accept that as an instruction. If you say, "Money leaves me as soon as it comes," the subconscious receives that as a financial pattern. If you say, I am always tired, the subconscious accepts tiredness as part of your identity. If you say, I have no choice, the subconscious begins to close doors before you even reach them. This is not because life is cruel. It is because law is exact. The spoken word is not merely a description of reality. It is often the beginning of reality. Your voice is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Before something appears in form, it often exists first as a thought, then as an image, then as a feeling, then as a word. The word gives the inner condition a direction. The word sends the message outward and downward into the deeper mind. A careless word can plant confusion. A fearful word can plant delay. A bitter word can plant separation. But a word of faith can open a path where no path appears. A word of blessing can soften a hard circumstance. A word of divine order can call harmony into the place where disorder seemed to rule. A word of prosperity can begin to loosen the old agreement with lack. This is why one must become watchful, not with fear, but with love. Do not become frightened of your words. Become conscious of them. Do not condemn yourself for the phrases you used yesterday. Simply choose again today. The purpose of this teaching is not to make you anxious about speech. It is to make you sovereign in speech. You are not here to be afraid of every sentence. You are here to understand that your voice has authority. When you speak, you are not merely talking. You are choosing. You are planting. You are instructing. You are building. And from this moment forward, you can build differently. How complaints become commands? Now we must look with honesty at the hidden way many people use their creative power. They do not use it through grand declarations. They use it through complaints. A complaint may seem harmless. It may seem like a release, a little emotional smoke escaping from the pressure of the day. But in the language of the subconscious, a complaint is rarely neutral. A complaint often becomes a command. When you say, I am so exhausted, you may mean, I need rest. I need support. I need peace. But the subconscious does not always translate the hidden longing underneath the sentence. It hears the sentence, I am exhausted. And because the words, I am, carry identity, exhaustion begins to be reinforced as part of your state. When you say, I am always broke before payday, you may think you are merely reporting a financial fact. But in spiritual law, repeated reporting becomes repeated ordering. You are not simply describing lack. You are rehearsing it. You are giving it a name. You are giving it rhythm. You are giving it permission to remain. When you say, nothing good happens to me, you may be trying to express disappointment, but the deeper mind receives a decree, nothing good happens to me. Then life begins to show you more evidence that agrees with your statement, not because the universe is against you, but because the inner pattern is seeking outer confirmation. Beloved, this is where so much pain begins, not because you are powerless, but because you have been powerful without knowing it. You may have been creating with the wrong end of the instrument. You may have been using your divine faculty of speech to strengthen the very conditions you were praying to escape. Think of the quiet voice that rises when you open your banking app and prepare yourself for disappointment. Think of the sentence that comes when you stand in the grocery aisle and count what you can afford. Think of the familiar feeling that comes when an opportunity passes by and you say, that is just how my life goes. Think of the phrase, I am not one of the lucky ones. These words may feel private. They may feel small, but nothing spoken with deep feeling is small to the subconscious mind. A sentence spoken in defeat can become a blueprint. A sentence spoken repeatedly can become a house you live in. A sentence spoken with emotion can become a road your feet keep finding. And yet here is the liberating truth. If words built the prison, words can open the door. If phrases of fear trained the mind into limitation, phrases of faith can train it into freedom. If the mouth has repeated lack, the mouth can now declare supply. If the heart has agreed with defeat, the heart can now agree with divine order. You do not need to hate the old words. You only need to stop feeding them. You do not need to fight the old story. You only need to speak the new one with calm persistence. This law is not activated by panic. It is activated by consistency. It is not impressed by noise. It responds to inner conviction. So today, you begin gently. You begin by noticing when the old sentence rises. Pause. Do not scold yourself. Do not say, I have failed again. Simply breathe and say, that is the old language. I now choose the language of truth. The old sentence may say, I am tired. The new word says, I am being renewed by divine life. The old sentence may say, I am broke. The new word says, I am open to divine supply, and right provision comes to me in perfect ways. The old sentence may say, I have no choice. The new word says, I choose faith, wisdom, and the next right step. This is not pretending. This is redirecting. This is not denial. This is spiritual authority. You are no longer letting fear write the script of your life. You are taking the pen back. The first sacred phrase, I am. The first sacred phrase is the most powerful. It is short, but it carries the force of identity. The phrase is, I am. These two words are not casual. They are not ordinary. They are the doorway through which you name yourself. Whatever follows, I am, is accepted by the deeper mind as an identity, a state of being, a spiritual garment you are putting on. When you say, I am weak, you are clothing yourself in weakness. When you say, I am unlucky, you are placing misfortune upon your own name. When you say, I am confused, you are affirming confusion as your present state. When you say, I am always struggling, you are giving struggle a home in your consciousness. But when you say, I am guided, something begins to change. When you say, I am provided for, the inner atmosphere shifts. When you say, I am peaceful, your nervous system begins to hear a new command. When you say, I am a channel of divine good, you begin to stand under a different law. For years, many people use I am carelessly. They attach it to illness, lack, fatigue, shame, fear, failure, and delay. They do not realize they are placing the sacred stamp of identity upon passing conditions. A feeling is not always an identity. A circumstance is not always an identity. A bank balance is not an identity. A past mistake is not an identity. A difficult season is not an identity. But when you attach I am to these things, you make them more personal and more permanent than they need to be. So the first practice is simple. For the next 24 hours, become a loving guardian of the words, I am. Do not try to change every sentence at once. Do not overwhelm yourself. Simply catch 3 limiting I am statements and turn them into words of life. Only 3. That is enough to begin. If you hear yourself say, I am so tired, pause and gently correct it. I am restoring my divine energy. If you hear yourself say, I am overwhelmed, Breathe and say, I am supported by divine order. One right step is shown to me now. If you hear yourself say, I am broke, do not repeat the old identity. Say, I am a wise steward of divine supply. My good comes to me in right and perfect ways. If you hear yourself say, I am anxious, place a hand over your heart and say, I am divinely peaceful. I am held in the presence of perfect love. At first, the words may feel strange. The old mind may argue. It may say, this is not true. It may say, look at the evidence. It may say, you are lying to yourself. But understand this. The old pattern always protests when it is losing authority. A new language always feels unfamiliar before it becomes natural. When a child learns to speak, every word begins awkwardly. Yet, with repetition, the word becomes effortless. So it is with the language of faith. You are not lying. You are choosing a higher fact. You are not denying the temporary condition. You are refusing to call it your name. There is a great difference between saying, I feel tired right now, and saying, I am tired. There is a great difference between saying, money feels tight today, and saying, I am poor. There is a great difference between observing a cloud and declaring yourself the storm. You are not the passing condition. You are the speaker of the word, and the word you speak can call forth another condition. So let I am become holy again. Let it become clean. Let it become filled with faith. Say, I am guided by divine intelligence. I am supplied by divine love. I am calm, steady, and protected. I am open to the good that is mine by divine right. I am willing to speak only words that bless my life. These words are seeds. Plant them gently. Water them with feeling. Return to them morning and night. And little by little, the inner soil begins to change. The second sacred phrase, I have. The second sacred phrase is, I have. This phrase is the language of possession, gratitude, evidence, and spiritual recognition. Many people pray for abundance while speaking only of absence. They ask for love while rehearsing loneliness. They ask for supply while naming lack. They ask for peace while counting every disturbance. But the phrase I have trains the inner eye to notice what is already present, and what you notice expands. This does not mean you pretend. It does not mean you stand in pain and force yourself to say something you cannot feel. The subconscious mind responds not only to words, but to feeling. If your words and feelings are completely divided, the message becomes weak. So the wise soul begins with truth, not exaggerated truth, not forced truth, simple truth. One small good thing you can genuinely feel, that is enough. You may say, I have a bed to rest in tonight. Feel it. Do not rush. Feel the softness. Feel the shelter. Feel the quiet blessing of having a place where the body may release the day. You may say, I have breath moving through me. Feel it. One breath comes in. One breath goes out. Life is still choosing you. Divine life is still flowing through you. You may say, I have one person who has shown me kindness. Feel it. Let the memory warm you. Let gratitude become real. Not dramatic, but sincere. You may say, I have food for this moment. Feel the nourishment. You may say, I have the ability to begin again. Feel the dignity of that. Beloved, this is spiritual accounting. You are counting the evidence of good, not because you deny what is missing, but because you refuse to make absence your God. The phrase, I have, teaches the subconscious mind the feeling of possession. And when the mind becomes familiar with the feeling of having, it begins to attract, recognize, and move toward more experiences that match that state. A person who constantly says, "I do not have enough," trains the inner vision to find shortage. A person who says, "I have signs of good already," trains the inner vision to find supply. The difference may seem small at first, but every great shift begins as a small inner correction. When you say, "I have a roof over my head," you are not merely stating a fact. You are blessing shelter. When you say, "I have food in my kitchen," you are not merely describing groceries. You are blessing nourishment. When you say, "I have ideas," you are blessing creative intelligence. When you say, "I have time to take the next right step," you are blessing divine timing. When you say, "I have faith enough for today," you are blessing the seed of faith until it grows. This phrase also heals the habit of spiritual blindness. For when fear is strong, the mind becomes a collector of evidence against itself. It notices every bill. It notices every delay. It notices every closed door. It notices every silence. But gratitude opens another set of eyes. Gratitude says, "Yes, there are things still unfolding, but there is already good here. And where good is recognized, good multiplies." Begin where you are. Do not say, "I have a mansion." If your heart tightens and rejects it, say, "I have a place to begin." Do not say, "I have millions." If the words feel empty, say, "I have divine supply moving toward me, and I have enough faith to welcome the next visible sign." Do not say, "I have perfect love everywhere." If your heart is aching, say, "I have the capacity to receive love. I have the love of the divine within me. I have one true moment of tenderness, and I bless it." This is how you build the bridge, one honest word at a time, one true gratitude at a time, one felt blessing at a time. Soon the inner state changes from hunger to receptivity, from panic to trust, from emptiness to expectation. And expectation is powerful, not desperate expectation, faith-filled expectation, the quiet knowing that divine order is already working behind the veil. So today, make a sacred inventory. Write down 10 things you truly have. Small things count. Simple things count. Invisible things count. A memory counts. A breath counts. A lesson counts. A skill counts. A prayer counts. A door not yet opened but inwardly sensed counts. Say them slowly. I have breath. I have guidance. I have another chance. I have divine intelligence within me. I have the ability to bless my words. I have seeds of prosperity already planted. I have the courage to choose again. I have peace available to me now. I have the presence of God within and around me. I have the beginning of my miracle. And as you speak, feel the shift. The soul that speaks "I have" with sincerity stops begging at the gate of life and begins recognizing the good already placed in its hands. The third sacred phrase, I choose. The third sacred phrase is, I choose. This phrase restores your spiritual sovereignty. It takes power back from outer circumstances and returns it to the throne of consciousness. Many people live under a spell of helplessness. They say, I have no choice. This always happens to me. My past controls me. My job is ruining me. My family keeps me stuck. My finances decide my future. My fear is stronger than my faith. These sentences feel true when the outer world appears powerful, but they are the language of spiritual imprisonment. I choose is the key placed in your own hand. it does not always change the outer circumstance instantly, but it changes your position within the circumstance, and when your position changes, your world begins to reorganize. To say, "I choose," is to remember that you are not merely a character reacting to events. You are a conscious soul. You are a cooperator with divine law. You are not asked to control everything. You are asked to choose your inner alignment. There is a great power in saying, "I choose peace," not because the room is already peaceful, but because peace must begin somewhere. There is power in saying, "I choose faith," not because every answer has appeared, but because faith opens the channel through which answers come. There is power in saying, "I choose to bless this situation," not because the situation is easy, but because blessing removes poison from the heart and calls forth hidden good. Consider a person who feels trapped in work that drains the soul. Each morning, they say, "I hate this job. This place is killing me. I have no way out." Those words press the walls closer, but one day, something awakens. They choose a new sentence. "I choose to see this work as the temporary financier of my true calling." At first, nothing outside changes. The same desk is there, the same boss is there, the same tasks are there, but the inner meaning changes. The job is no longer a prison. It becomes a bridge. The salary is no longer a chain. It becomes seed money. The difficult people are no longer enemies. They become teachers of patience, clarity, boundaries, and strength. The waiting period is no longer wasted time. It becomes preparation. Then, because the inner state has changed, new ideas appear. A conversation opens. A hidden opportunity comes. A skill is noticed. A door that was invisible becomes visible. The person is not set free merely because the world changed. The world changed because the person first chose a new spiritual position. This is the mystery of "I choose." It moves you from victimhood into partnership. Instead of saying, "This situation is ruining me," say, "I choose to find the hidden blessing and the right action in this situation." Instead of saying, "I am stuck," say, "I choose to believe that my perfect path is seeking me now." Instead of saying, "I cannot handle this," say, "I choose to receive divine strength for this moment." Instead of saying, "There is no way," say, "I choose to know that divine intelligence has ways I cannot yet see." Instead of saying, "My past decides my future," say, "I choose to let divine order rewrite the pattern of my life." These words are not weak comfort. They are spiritual command. The phrase, "I choose," tells the subconscious mind, we are no longer waiting helplessly. We are selecting a direction. And the subconscious mind, faithful servant that it is, begins to look for evidence, pathways, ideas, people, timing, and movement that agree with the chosen direction. The universe collaborates with the one who chooses, not with frantic control, not with fear, but with calm, steady inner authority. So ask yourself, what am I choosing with my words today? Am I choosing lack by repeating lack? Am I choosing delay by expecting delay? Am I choosing rejection by preparing for rejection? Am I choosing struggle by identifying with struggle? Or am I choosing divine order? Am I choosing peace? Am I choosing right action? Am I choosing abundance? Am I choosing to speak as though heaven is listening? Because it is. Your subconscious mind is listening. Life is listening. The inner law is listening. And now you may give it a better instruction, the sacred timing. Before sleep and upon waking, There are two sacred windows in the day when the soul is especially receptive. The first is just before sleep. The second is just upon waking. In these moments, the conscious mind is quieter. The guard at the gate is less strict. The arguments of the day are softer. The deeper mind is open, impressionable, and ready to receive. These are not moments to waste on worry, yet many people use the final minutes before sleep to rehearse fear. They replay conversations. They count debts. They imagine problems. They prepare for disappointment. They fall asleep under the weight of old words and wonder why they wake with the same heaviness. Beloved, the moments before sleep are sacred planting time. Do not plant thorns there. Plant peace. As you lie down at night, let the day be finished. Whatever was not solved today is placed into divine order. Whatever was heavy today is surrendered to divine wisdom. Whatever frightened you today is no longer allowed to speak the final word over your mind. Let your last words be words of command, blessing, and trust. Whisper gently, I am peaceful. I have everything I need for this moment. I choose to awaken renewed, guided, and inspired. Do not force emotion. Do not strain. Speak softly, as though placing a child into rest. Let the words settle. Let the body believe them. Let the heart receive them. If fear rises, do not fight it. Simply return to the phrase, I am peaceful. If the mind says, but what about tomorrow? Answer gently, I choose divine order for tomorrow. If the heart says, but I do not know how, answer, I have guidance, and the next right step will be shown. This is how you place a new instruction into the night, and upon waking, do not immediately reach for anxiety. Do not give the first fruits of your attention to messages, worries, numbers, or problems. Before the world speaks to you, speak to your world. Before the day tells you what it expects, tell the day what you are choosing. Place your hand upon your heart and say, I am guided today. I have divine support today. I choose peace, prosperity, wisdom, and right action today. These morning words are like opening the windows of the soul. They allow light to enter before fear can occupy the room. If you do this daily, you will begin to notice small changes. You may pause before complaining. You may feel guided to make a call. You may suddenly remember an idea. You may respond calmly where you once reacted. You may notice a small blessing you would have missed. These are not accidents. They are signs that the inner command is changing. Do not despise small signs. A small sign is often the first leaf of a great harvest. The 7-day practice. Now let this teaching become practical. For 7 days, practice the 3 sacred phrases, not perfectly, faithfully. Write them on a card. I am, I have, I choose. Place the card where your eyes will meet it, on your mirror, near your bed, beside your kettle, inside your journal, in your phone case, on your desk, wherever your daily life will be interrupted by truth. Let the card become a bell of remembrance. Each time you see it, pause, take one breath, then speak one sentence from each phrase. In the morning, say, I am guided by divine intelligence. I have all I need for the next right step. I choose to move through this day in faith. At midday, when the world becomes noisy, say, I am steady. I have support seen and unseen. I choose calm action. At night, say, I am safe in divine order. I have received blessings today, and more good is unfolding. I choose to rest in peace. During these 7 days, your work is to catch and translate. Catch the old sentence. Translate it into the new language. Old language, I am overwhelmed. New language, I am being guided one step at a time. Old language, I am broke. New language. I am open to divine supply, and I use what I have with wisdom and gratitude. Old language. I never get opportunities. New language. I have divine opportunities seeking me, and I recognize them at the right time. Old language. I have no choice. New language. I choose faith. I choose wisdom. I choose the next right step. Old language. This always goes wrong. New language. I choose to expect divine order and right outcome. The purpose is not